Dr. David Finegold will be giving his farewell address to the Chatham community on April 12th at 2 p.m. in Mellon Board Room. In the days leading up to his farewell address, I was able to sit down with Dr. Finegold to talk about his time as Chatham University's president.
People already probably know you, but if you want to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm David Finegold. I'm honored to serve as the 19th president of Chatham University. This is my 7th and final year in the role.
Chatham went co-ed, or all gender, in
Yes.
2015.
Yep.
What was it like coming into the role after that decision and kind of bringing the campus together following that change?
So obviously, starting the year after that, I wasn't here for, I would say, a lot of the contentious and the debates and everything that led up to that. I learned a lot about it in the search process. And frankly, when I was approached by the search firm to interview for the job, I had worked with them before, and so I said, you're welcome to put my name in, but I think it's very unlikely that they would want to move forward with me, given Chatham's history, that they've had a very successful female president for the prior 24 years, that they would be unlikely to name a man just having done the all-gender transition. But it turned out that the committee was very open, looking at a diverse field, and I thought it would be a big issue, but it really wasn't when I arrived. I think people were very open and welcoming.
What's something that you're most proud of that doesn't often get recognition?
I try to trumpet it a lot in my speeches, but I think, people may miss it in the day-to-day. But one thing that I was really proud of was, when I started at Chatham, we were ranked in the regional university category by US News and World Report. And since then we've moved in and we're now among the top 200 national universities in the country. And I'm not a big fan of the US News and World Report. There's a lot of flaws in that ranking, but the part of it that I'm really proud of is they look at social mobility. So they look at how many low-income students do you serve and what are their graduation rates. And for that, we rank number one of all of the national universities that are based in Pennsylvania on that metric. And that fits so well with our mission, which is about really empowering students, transforming their lives. And so to me, that indicator is a real sign of what Chatham has always stood for. And I think it's a sign that, we're still having that really positive impact.
When you started here, did you expect the school to look how it did in terms of the growth that it's seen and
Right.
the expansion of programs?
Yes. We certainly, myself, the board, the leadership team, we had an ambitious agenda, but I don't think anyone expected that we could grow as quickly and as successfully as we did. I think getting to where we were now was sort of the 10-year plan, and I think we achieved it in 6. So I think that was really impressive, particularly when you look at the numbers in Western PA as a whole. And over the last decade, there's only 3 places that have grown: us, Pitt, and CMU. Every other place has shrunk. So to more than double the size of the undergrad when everyone else is shrinking, that really shows that you have something that people are really interested in. So that's been great.
What kind of structures do you think are in place to accommodate that kind of growth?
Yeah, I think, the first stage of it was pretty easy because frankly, we had significant overcapacity. We had really small classes. We had, a lot of majors where there was almost no one. And so I think, the first 200 to 300, that was just kind of getting us to where we needed to be. And then we've added faculty, added new programs. But I think we're now at the stage where, the way things are looking, we're going to be completely full on this campus for housing next year undergrad. And so I think, a big task for the next president and the board is going to be thinking about the next phase of growth. How much further do we want to go? And then it's finding the right sort of optimal size there, I think is important. To me, we don't want just growth for growth's sake, But you all know, right, one of the issues we face is even with the growth, we're still pretty small in the different majors, right? And so being able to add faculty so you have greater choice in terms of the classes you're taking, that's a really big plus, and being able to have those offerings. And so I think it's about doing it without making individual classes too big, because we still want to keep that small. We want to keep the one-on-one contact with the faculty and the advisors and have that. But we're also thinking about how do we, the advising load has really increased on faculty. So one of the things the faculty are looking at now with Dr. Templeton and the deans is, do we want to institute some more experiment with more professional advising model where you have still your faculty who you can go to for like recommendations for grad school and talking about, I really want to do research, but maybe there's someone else who you meet with, it's about getting into your classes easily, and handling the volume. So, I think we need to look at every aspect of the university to make it as smooth and easy for students and to keep the load right.
Is there anything that you would do differently about your time at Chatham?
Well, this was the first time I was a university president, so I think there's a lot of things particularly as you're nearing the end of it, you look back and you think, I could have done this differently, I could have done that differently. On the whole, I'm really pleased with how it's gone. I think knowing what I know now about some of the challenges we're having with our graduate programs, not because they aren't good programs, but because, when we first started, particularly our health science programs, we were one of the very early movers among small players. And a lot of the other small places and bigger places around have seen the success, they've seen the challenges on undergrad, and now they're entering that. And so I think we had such focus on doing the undergrad transition well. In retrospect, I think we should have put more emphasis on, not to ignore undergrad, but more emphasis on grad, because I think that's now where it's posing some challenges. And some of those market trends we couldn't do anything about, but I think that's one area where we're going to need greater emphasis. Another thing that I would, we've tried different things, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to build on in the future is, Sue and I started the fine arts with the Finegolds. I think another nice part about the growing numbers in the undergrad is it makes for a richer overall experience. The same, real success we've had in transforming athletics and bringing a lot of student athletes from around the country, around the world. I think if we could match that with a similar success around the arts in this next 5 years, that would really make for a wonderfully kind of thriving college environment.
So after your time at Chatham, you said you were planning on working on some books. You have your podcast, Future of Higher Education. You've also said that you'd like to continue to find ways to combat climate change and making college more affordable.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you are going to be pursuing those goals?
Yep. So actually just this past week, I had a really fascinating week. So on the sustainability front, I'm going to be working with 2 Dutch startups to help them scale up here in the US. So one of them has a really exciting technology. The company is called TORR, T-O-R-R, green, and T-O-R-R is short for the process of torrefaction, which is like roasting coffee beans. That's what's used. So it basically takes all the water out of the plant mat. And so what this company is going to do is do that for any form of dry biomass. So for example, when you harvest corn, 20% is the corn cob, 80% is what's left. And so what we can do is take all of that, put it through this process, and you create a green coal. So it's a stable carbon fuel. And then alongside that, we have a second unit which can turn that into heat and into electricity. And then the other is an indoor agriculture firm. So Dutch have been the world leader in growing in greenhouses. And so working in partnership with Manchester Bidwell, we're going to have the first one open here in the US, and it'll be the local farm shop. So you'll be able to go in, there'll be 80 different things growing hydroponically, You can just say, I'll take these 12 and they'll be picked right there. Or you can have a CSA from it and just have it ready for pickup every week. The hope with those is to go into local food deserts where they don't have good fresh produce year round and have those across the US. And then on the college affordability, I'm planning to launch a nonprofit, which tentatively calling the National Transfer Network. And the idea is to rebuild something I had done before I joined Chatham, which is to create a national transfer network for community college students. So whichever community college you're in the country, the idea is to enable you to have pathways into the best fit, public or private, for you, and make it smooth for your credits to transfer, get you the best financial aid that you can. So really to try to, because I think that 2+2 pathway is a really good way to address college affordability.
As my last question, it's more of a lighthearted one. Is Louis ready to leave Chatham?
Well, I'm not sure he's fully got the news. So one thing that will be a big disappointment for him. So we're blessed here with Raisman, which has this wonderful large backyard, which happens to have a whole family of rabbits and groundhogs that Louis loves chasing after. He never catches them, but they have a good rapport, and he's got lots of area to explore, to wander around. We're going to be moving to a much smaller house here in Pittsburgh that we own, and so he'll have a lot less entertainment value there. Still a small fenced yard, but the good news is it's located just next to the Frick and Frick Park. So hopefully he'll have that to explore, and we'll still be in town. So hopefully when he misses folks, we'll bring him back, and he can get a lot of loving on the quad. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting down and talking to us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for suggesting it.